Hey everybody, welcome to week 6's discussion board for historical professions. So for this week, we were tasked with looking through newspapers and then trying to find things that we could have put together for a historical presentation of sorts. So what I did was I looked at the chronological reporting of Nazi war crimes during and after the Second World War. And so I found a couple. One was Eisenhower's pledge to punish any carrying out orders to execute paratroopers. So obviously this could be, we recognize this as a war crime in this day and time. And so it was citing the text of proclamation as well as just kind of talking in general about Eisenhower's claim that if anyone was caught attacking paratroopers or anyone, in the sky, that they would be executed, or at least, or not executed, excuse me, but very heavily punished, possibly with execution being a thing. Another was in the Manchester Guardian. That was the shooting of hostages. Specifically, it was Nazi crimes in Poland. And so that was talking about a protest against creating ammunition in Poland that occurred. And they killed some odd 2,000 individuals for that. So that could be, something else you could kind of talk about with war crimes that were occurring. And then my last one was sketches of the 11 Nazi leaders who paid with their lives at Nuremberg for war crimes. And so that one was a kind of after the war. So the first two take place earlier during the war. This last one took place in 1946. And this one was just kind of talking about who the main, so to speak, head generals of the Nazi regime were and what their lives were like beforehand, just kind of giving some brief background of those individuals, and then pushing in and talking about what occurred after, how they were captured. One of them is noted to have been working with the United States for the Secret Service for quite some time, or not secret, maybe CIA. Either way, they were working for the U.S. They were purposely brought out of Europe to provide expert opinion on some of the movements of the Nazi regime and what they were doing, and then he kind of just stayed there until he was eventually caught and put in jail and then executed for crimes against humanity, which I find very interesting. And it even notes it in that crimes against humanity was not a technical crime that you could be sentenced to before World War II. And once World War II occurred, they kind of started, they were like, we need something a little more intense, basically to ensure these people are never going to see the light of day again. Make sure no parole is occurring, make sure, they just were we want them out and never coming back. And so the introduction of crimes against humanity was brought in. And this newspaper, this is the New York Times, makes note of that, that it was purposely, kind of put together to make sure that was the ultimate crime you could make, and no one's getting out from that one. So I found that really interesting too. I have to look a little further back and see if crimes against humanity was ever a thing beforehand, because I feel like it may have happened with World War I, and it just had a reoccurring thing. But that article specifically notes that this was something they specifically put for these individuals, which I find very interesting. And so very, very fun little topic to kind of, not fun, but you know what I mean. Interesting to look into, and kind of, I think that could be a very well put together project if you were trying to make a sort of presentation on how Nazi war crimes were handled. So, interesting stuff. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next week.